Ms. Cutts?
Thank you, Your Honor. We're here today in 3 separate cases, all entitled State of Ohio versus Crystal L. Facemeyer. Those case numbers being 19 CR 001297, 20 CR 000-065, and 24 CR 001178. Defendant is present in open court today with her counsel, Eric Cherry. Your Honor, we're here today for motions. Motion to terminate community control sanctions in the 2019 and the 2020 case. Those motions were filed on October 8th of 2024 for violations of rule number 2. The defendant failed to report to her probation officer police contact in August of 2024. And rule number 1, the defendant was charged with theft in the Painesville Municipal Court, a felony of the 5th degree. It states understanding in those cases that the defendant will waive her right to probable cause hearing, final hearing, and plead guilty to those violations.
I think those happened on October 10th, where she waived, and we just set it for sentencing afterward.
When I looked at the October 10th docket, there was nothing that indicated that she had waived her probable cause.
You know, it is my recollection that probable cause was waived on October 10th, although Ms. Kutz is right that there is nothing in the record to confirm that, and it was, if I recall, another attorney from her office who was present on that day.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Cutts.
In the 2024 case, we are set for sentencing. The defendant was last before Your Honor on November 20th of 2024, where she pled guilty by way of information to 1 count of theft, a felony of the 5th degree, and 1 count of identity fraud, a felony of the 5th degree. At that time, a pre-sentence report, psychological evaluation, and victim impact statements were ordered. It's the state's understanding that those have been completed and provided to the court, and that all parties are prepared to go to sentencing at this time. That's the state's understanding.
All right, Mr. Sherry?
That is my understanding as well, and we are prepared to proceed to sentencing and prepared to make a statement on behalf of Ms. Facemeyer. If the court is willing, my client's boyfriend, Mr. Dan Cameron, is in the room and would like to make a statement, as well as her pastor, Pastor Ron Rollins.
All right, well, let's deal with this PV stuff. The 2 violations in each of the cases is that August 22 of 24, you had contact with the Sheriff's Department and failed to report it. Do you understand that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
And August 27th, charged with theft in Painesville Municipal Court. You understand that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Cherry, what does she want to do with regard to those, her probable cause and a final hearing?
You good with that? Your Honor, we are prepared to waive probable cause at this time and enter an admission.
All right, so is that what you want to do, Ms. Facemeyer?
Yes, Your
All
Honor.
right, what is your plea to those allegations in each of the cases of 19, 1297, and 2065?
Guilty, Your Honor.
All right, I'll accept your guilty plea and find you guilty. So we'll go to sentencing on all 3 cases. Go ahead, Mr. Cherry.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Ms. Facemeyer, as you know, is a 31-year-old woman. She is recently, even though she was employed at the time of this offense, she is now employed again at Easy Pet. She has been working there and has been entrusted with a company car and a company credit card and has a good position again that she's hoping to maintain despite the activity in this case. As the court is well aware, Ms. Facemeyer is a heroin addict. She has been sober and clean from that drug for 5 years now. She has had Suboxone treatment in the past and is currently using Suboxone to manage her symptoms and her addiction to that drug, but has not gone back to heroin. She has, to my knowledge, and is confirmed by the probation department, been provided a number of opportunities to complete a drug screen and has passed all of those drug screens. She has also gone to meetings in Alcoholics Anonymous and received some benefit from those meetings, although considering what has happened recently, I think she needs to go back and continue working again. As the court is also aware, she has presented to everybody here that she has a cancer diagnosis. That turns out not to be the case. But what is clear from her records, which have been provided to the court, is that she has an ongoing mental health issue that I would think, combined with her addictive behavior, creates a problem for her in which she needs services. What is good for her, primarily good for her, is that she has a community of people around her, the kind of community that you would want for a person with her problems, to help support her, give her good direction, and provide her guidance when she struggles in working the 12 steps of any addiction program, and to help manage her mental health symptoms. Sorry, Your Honor. Her boyfriend, Dan Cameron, is here with us today, and despite all of this that has happened before this court on the current circumstances, he still loves her, and he still believes that she is a good person with qualities that she can offer to the community that are positive. She has other members of Alcoholics Anonymous, which I won't belabor the point and have all of them read, but many of them wrote letters in support of her in connection with today's sentencing. She's also going to church and getting support from that front to help with her mental health and addiction, and Pastor Rollins is here today to tell you about his piece of this. She's got the right setup. She just needs the additional help for the mental health side that you have offered to her before. Maybe wasn't quite right the way it was set up before, I'm not quite sure. But she needs that, and she may need it again. She also needs to go back to working her 12 steps. Recently, she has finally come to an admission that she is powerless over gambling, something that we all suspected, but the fact that it came from her without even any prompting from me is a very good sign, I think. She has started to attend meetings. Unfortunately, as you may know, Alcoholics Anonymous is out of Akron, so there are many meetings for that here. That's not necessarily true for Gamblers Anonymous, and so she's been only able to do online meetings, but she has attended some. She's identified 3 that she can do that are in Ohio. They just happen to be remote, so she has to do it essentially on Zoom. As you also know, she has a very troubled family life, and that, considering the problems that she had with abuse in the home growing up between her mother and father, and her mother continuing to be abusive and an alcoholic since they've split up, she's not had a lot of opportunities to really develop a good, mature life while she was growing up. She's only, I think, learning the skills she needs to be an adult now in the rooms. It's just it hasn't gotten all the way there yet, as is clear from this case. She has accepted responsibility for what has happened here. She acknowledges she has to make payment back. It's my understanding that she started to make payment back on her prior cases. She's going in the right direction, and I believe a prison term for her is not going to serve her. I think it will interrupt her. As the court is aware, she was previously incarcerated, and I think if there were any deterrent effect for what you had done before, we would have seen it now. I think what this is a cry for help, that she's not completely healed, and she needs your help to help find the services that she needs to heal. And with that, I would ask the court for leave to allow Mr. Cameron and Mr. Rollins to make a speech.
Yeah, whoever is speaking, just state your name for the record and tell me what you want me to know.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Daniel Cameron Blankshank, and I would like to take this time to make a statement based on my experience dealing with Crystal. Your Honor, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to make this statement. I know that the actions of Crystal have affected the victims in several ways. They were deprived of money and personal belongings. Their private property was invaded. I have no doubt that they experienced stress and anguish in addition to the monetary loss as a result of her actions. There's no denying that these were poor choices at best that she made, and that while these actions are serious in their nature, that they are not a reflection of the woman that Crystal was in the process of becoming. In the years since I have met her, I have seen profound changes in her. She has grown immensely since completing treatment at the Jean Marie House on the west side of Brook Park. She's maintained 5 continuous years of sobriety from drugs and alcohol, and is an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous. She works with her sponsor and sponsored other women. Crystal was one of the most kind, loving, and compassionate, selfless people I've ever had the pleasure of being around. She has fought gallantly and worked to improve things for herself without any help or support from her family whatsoever. Last spring, she took time to sit with my parents and encourage them along with myself when my father was diagnosed with cancer. Crystal put aside her own struggles that she was going through at that time and helped prepare meals, treats, and became a trusted resource to my entire family. We continue to rely heavily on her knowledge and past medical experience as a registered nurse, as well as her presence in dealing with these various issues as we navigate the uncertainty that we occasionally face. She has made herself available to escort them anywhere, to take them to shopping or accompany them to appointments, or just to simply be a friend in the ear when we need to talk. This is Crystal's true character. A loving, compassionate, and faithful woman. She's given of herself because that's what she stands for and represents. I've never had that experience before, and neither have they. She's been a blessing for us, truly. I opened my home to Crystal. She came to live with me 1 year ago last weekend. She is a place where she is safe, where she's loved, and she's able to get the help that she needs. And her drive for self-improvement continues, and she is well in the process of changing, and that process is well underway. It is now that I ask you to be merciful in your passing of sentence. Crystal has passed all her drug screens, as Mr. Chairman just elaborated on, and up until she made these poor decisions, she's met every requirement of her by the probation department and by this court. I humbly ask that Your Honor would allow Crystal to remain on probation and in the community and seek assistance from the things that still cause her to struggle, and that she would be given an opportunity to continue working and remaining a productive member of society in order to make financial restitution and continue to be able to get the help that she needs so nothing like this ever happens again. I assure you, sir, that this is a woman who stood before you nearly broken, who learned from her experience in the state prison system. She's risen above that and is not that person today. This is a woman who loves the Lord and is remorseful for the harm that she's caused. This is not indicative of her character today. I would ask you that you would find it in your heart to see these redeeming qualities in her and allow her the opportunity to continue to right her wrongs while we continue on this journey that our Lord wants her to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pastor Ronald Rollins. I've come to know Crystal over this past year, coming to our church in worship. As Dan had alluded to, she loves the Lord, and what I've heard this morning, or I should say this afternoon, kind of aligns with my understanding of Crystal, and that is addiction and those types of words become very important to us, understanding that the core of addiction is sinfulness, and we're all addicted to sin. And so her ability to be able to meet with me and to continue in her life journey and learning to know the Lord, coming to know Him better, is a way to address this sinful condition that we all live in. And I just want to be here this morning, or I should say this afternoon again, to support Crystal. She's made some really bad decisions in her life. She's gone through tremendous struggles. I agree and understand her mental health issues that seem to be plaguing her as along with these decisions that she's making. And I just would like to offer, again, my view as a supportive clergyman in working with Crystal, that I don't believe that what she needs is prison time. What she needs is help. And I'm glad to be a participant in helping her with her spiritual welfare, and her counselor can give her that mental health work that she needs as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Facemeyer, what do you want to tell me?
Your Honor, I am here today because of some very poor choices that I made. I understand their severity and I accept full responsibility for them. I am profoundly sorry for the undue stress and aggravation that my actions caused those who I victimized. My actions deprived innocent people of their property and hard-earned money. I fully understand how hard it is to earn money, and regardless of my struggles, it does not excuse my actions. I made another poor choice in stopping the medication that I was prescribed. This is in no way an excuse for my behavior, but by that point, Everything was out of character for me. I was overwhelmed by my gambling addiction that had spiraled out of control. It took me down harder and faster than my addiction to drugs did in the past. In addition to losing money gambling, my hours were being cut at work, and I was struggling to meet my monthly expenses. I got myself into a very scary situation, and because I was afraid to ask for help, my pride got in the way of common sense. I have begun to repair the wreckage. I have resumed regular meetings with my psychiatrist, and I am taking the medicine as prescribed. Acting on advice of my AA sponsor, I have sought help through Gamblers Anonymous online, and I continue working the AA program, which has given me opportunities I never thought were possible, and has put people in my life that actually love me and care deeply about me and my well-being. I have also sought out and participate in weekly counseling sessions so that I can address and deal with things from my past that have eaten away at me for many years. Pastor Rollins, who is here today, and I have discussed additional counseling with him, and I plan to follow through as soon as possible. I didn't have a good upbringing, and for the first time in my life, I'm loved and have the support of people who have become my real family. I've worked hard to climb out of the hole I dug for myself in the past. While I acknowledge my growth, I know that I still have a lot of work to do. One of the most important actions in my program of recovery is to make amends when I owe them, and to do so promptly. Your Honor, I have been fortunate enough to gain full-time employment again. As Eric said, I'm entrusted with a brand new company vehicle and a credit card to make purchases needed for the scope of my duties. I am also in a very stable, loving, and nurturing living situation. I am fully willing and able to make restitution to the people I am responsible for victimizing, as well as meeting my monthly expenses. While my program teaches me that the best amends is changed behavior, I owe it to those individuals to make things right financially. I would like to also extend my sincere apology to my victims, their families, and anyone close to them who were affected in any way by my actions. Your Honor, I'm asking you humbly for your grace and mercy so that I can make these amends as quickly as possible, and so that I can pay my debt to the court by allowing me the privilege of continuing on the path to become an honorable and God-fearing woman. I want to make good on the opportunity you granted me 5 years ago. I also want to apologize for violating my probation that came because you gave me a chance back then. I am committed to doing everything required and necessary to make sure I am never in this position again. I experienced some of the harshest realities that life sometimes presents, but I have tools to use to deal with them, and most importantly, a growing relationship with my Lord that was not existent when I stood before you during my darkest days. I ask that you would see fit to allow me to remain free so that I can continue my journey and grow to become the woman that I am capable of becoming and that Jesus wants me to be. Thank you.
Why did you go into these 2 cars?
Because with my hours being cut with work and the addiction to gambling and not wanting to ask for help, Your Honor, I got overwhelmed with the extent of my bills trying to keep up with restitution and even gambling itself.
Well, what bills?
My phone, my car. I had, even with the psychiatrist, because my Medicaid had gotten cut while I was waiting for my insurance through work to kick in. And then just with the expense of gambling itself.
What'd you do with the money?
I literally only got $20, and that I went and I put in the slot machine.
So it really had nothing to do with the bills, it had to do with the gambling.
Correct.
What'd you do with the items that were taken?
I threw them away.
When did the gambling start?
About 2 years ago. It didn't get really bad until about a year ago.
And how were you gambling?
Those little internet cafes that they have popped up around. I would just go in there because they have slot machines.
Now, when's the last time you tested positive for any drugs?
I never tested positive. I've been sober for the 5 years.
And how did you accomplish that?
Through AA and the support that I've gained, and through the rooms,
Okay.
like I said, of Alcoholics Anonymous and the steps and tools
All
they
right.
gave me.
Then what's with the Suboxone?
That was when my mental health got real bad and everything too, from the gambling and secluding myself. I literally wanted to kill myself or do heroin, so I had reached out to a Suboxone doctor, so that way I didn't do either, because either was gonna kill me anyways. And I didn't want to
Which
die.
doctor?
Her name was Emily Shumway. I know it was a different one before that with insurance, but then they stopped taking my insurance, so I had to switch to Ms. Shumway. And then when I just got Medicaid back, I had to switch to, his name was Scott Allen.
Where are they located?
It doesn't say on there because it's through online virtual.
All right. Did you inform your probation officer that you were going to these doctors?
I informed her that I was on Suboxone and that it was through a virtual doctor, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I don't like this virtual doctor crap. I don't like it.
I understand that, but that was what insurance covered.
It's worked out really, really well. So how long had it been before you, when did you get the Suboxone?
It would have been about, I want to say over a year ago when it was getting, my addiction was getting real bad.
Okay, when you say what addiction was getting
The
bad?
gambling addiction.
Okay. And so you're on the computer with somebody who may or may not be a doctor, who's a pretend doctor. And how long had it been, when they prescribed, whoever it was prescribed this Suboxone, how long had it been since you took heroin?
At that time, it would have been, because I just had 5 years in December.
So why in the world is a doctor prescribing Suboxone, which is theoretically, okay, to get you from taking heroin 4 years after the fact?
I don't know, Your Honor. I had
Did you
gone there
discuss that
to-
with this?
I did, because I had told them I literally wanted to kill myself or pick up heroin.
And so how many times did you share a screen with this doctor?
They did it once a month.
Well, how many times before you were prescribed Suboxone?
They did a screen before I was prescribed it, because I went up to LabCorp through Walgreens, and then it was once every 2 weeks, and then it went to once a month.
Now, my question is, how many times did you talk to this doctor on the computer screen before Suboxone was prescribed?
They prescribed it that first time.
Now, this is absolutely unbelievable, irresponsible, and you would think there's some goddamn medical ethics that would prevent that from occurring. You would think, okay? Now, you're a pretty good manipulator, right? You are a Class A
I
manipulator.
can, yes.
You are,
Your Honor.
right? Okay, this whole cancer stuff was all made up, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So you can convince Mr. Cameron and all the AA people that you had cancer and collect money for it. What'd you do with all that money?
One from the fundraiser and everything, I literally donated because I couldn't use it for that because I didn't have the moral capacity to.
What?
I said, through my morals and values, when they gave me that money, I donated it to the Cancer Foundation because I couldn't use it
What
for
cancer
that.
foundation?
The American Cancer
How
Society.
do I know that?
You don't, but.
Right. Why would I believe that? Seems to me you probably gambled it. If you got a bunch of money in your hand and you got a gambling addiction and you're telling me you donated it somewhere else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So you that gets back, I mean, you're a manipulator, and you manipulated this doctor, because you told this doctor whatever you wanted to tell this doctor, and got Suboxone, and started taking Suboxone. Now, Suboxone is an addictive drug, isn't it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. When is the last time you took Suboxone?
They have me tapering off of it now, so I did take it this morning, but I'm on half a strip a day and we're
I
weaning me
can't,
off.
this is unbelievable to me. When's the last time you actually went to a doctor?
I want to say I was supposed to go on the 4th, but I didn't. Oh, it's right there too, because I just had surgery on the 21st.
Okay, when's the last time you went to a doctor for other than that condition? Not saw him on a computer screen.
The
Went to a doctor.
psychiatrist I see in person once a year, and then otherwise it's virtual because he's in Twinsburg. And then I went and
Psychiatrist?
saw, yes.
Okay. And what did that psychiatrist prescribe for you?
He gives me the Xanax and the Zoloft.
Okay. And what's that for? What's the diagnosis for that?
Severe anxiety and major depressive disorder.
How long have you been going to that doctor?
I've been seeing him now about 2.5 or 3 years.
Did that doctor know about your gambling?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
I never told him.
Why not?
Because when I'm in an active addiction, I don't ever admit it. I kind of keep it to myself like an addict anyways.
How do you
before
separate-
it becomes too big and out of
How do you
control.
separate your addictions? You got a heroin addiction, you got a gambling addiction. Presumably, you have kept the heroin addiction under control, and while that was under control, began a gambling addiction, if I believe what you're telling me. How were you able to control one and not the other?
It's not a matter of controlling it, Your Honor. As an addict, anything I pick up, I can become completely addicted to.
Okay?
It's a matter
And
of
then,
fully putting myself into my steps and completely, thoroughly going over my past and becoming okay with it and getting myself out of the environment that I was in prior to that.
so you did that with the heroin.
Yes, I did when I was at Jean Marie and worked my steps.
Well, but you're telling me you haven't taken any heroin since.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so you weren't at Jean Marie for 4 years,
No,
were
I
you?
was there for 9 months, Your Honor.
Okay, so for 4 years, you managed to keep that at bay until you started taking the Suboxone. Imagine prescribing an addictive drug to an addict. So 3 years after you last took heroin or thereabouts, you tell me you developed this gambling addiction, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So what did you do to address that?
It's what I'm doing now.
What did you do then to address it?
I didn't do anything, Your Honor, because I was so hurt from my mom and everything, and that's kind of what I just used to fill that void, because I didn't want to pick up heroin, as I had turned to gambling. Because like I said, as an addict, we do anything to try to fill that void. I just didn't want to pick up heroin at the time because I didn't want to die, so I found something else to latch myself onto. Thank you.
Sorry.
Did you go to that psychiatrist as a result of the order back in 22 to have a mental health evaluation?
No, Your Honor, that doctor I went to on my own.
So now I'm sitting here, and what am I supposed to do with you? What is there left to do with you that hasn't been done?
Your Honor, I'm taking the steps and actually addressing my past, and that's why I started the weekly counseling sessions with a therapist.
On the computer?
It is on the computer, but most of them are online now, and it's the same as if you sit in
Why
front
are
of
all
them
these
in an
places,
office.
does anybody know why all these places are so lazy?
It's COVID.
It's COVID, this is 2025.
I understand that, Your Honor.
You know, Mr. Cherry, why they're so lazy?
I can speak to my experience primarily as a family law attorney, that even now, a lot of psychologists and psychiatrist sessions are still done remotely. When you do like reunification counseling, you might do that in person, but even then, there's oftentimes a remote piece.
Isn't that, as a family law
Yeah.
counselor, practitioner, isn't that the dumbest thing you've ever heard of?
I don't think it is as effective. You know, even
Yeah,
from my piece, I say Zoom pre-trials are fine, but if I have to do a trial on Zoom, it's not good.
Is everybody, why are we all here? Why aren't I sitting in Florida doing this hearing and you sitting in California doing it?
It'd be fine with me, Your Honor.
I mean, I don't understand why, but I guess that's beside the point, okay? But this doesn't work.
It does, Your Honor. There was stuff I didn't
If
address.
it-
and the environment
if it
that-
worked, you wouldn't be here, okay?
I might suggest, Your Honor, that sometimes repeated efforts are necessary with addicts, and furthermore, I'm
understand
not
that.
sure a dual diagnosis treatment regime has been tried yet.
Well,
It has? Okay.
I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a drug counselor. Unfortunately, I have to rely on psychologists, psychiatrists, and drug counselors, many of whom are in it for the graft, quite frankly. Many of these organizations exist to perpetuate themselves, to take more money, to perpetuate themselves. That's the way it is. So, when I refer somebody for a mental health evaluation, maybe it's misguided, but it's my expectation that they, as a professional, would evaluate that person and say, there's mental health issues, there's drug issues, maybe it should be a dual diagnosis. That's what they're supposed to do. 75% of the time, they don't do it because they just don't care. Okay? But that's where you have to take responsibility for your situation.
I understand, Your Honor, and that's what I'm trying to do at the moment.
Okay, but you were here, when were you here, a month ago?
Yes, Your Honor,
And why did we delay that hearing until now?
because we had to get all the medical records and everything
Because-
else.
because of your cancer
I was
stuff.
irresponsible, yes, Your Honor.
Right. So as recently as a month ago, you weren't owning up to anything,
Yes, Your
right?
Honor.
okay?
And I've taken responsibility for it, and that's why I'm
I
trying
don't-
to
see, I-
take the steps to change it.
Well-
And that's the only way I know how, and that's why I reached out to the counselor.
Okay, but-
I started the Gambling Anonymous meetings and have restarted my steps on that, and I'm trying to dig into my past of where I missed so that I can take the steps. to
We're 8
become-
years in, you and I, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay? So to take steps in the last month is insufficient.
Your Honor, I've taken steps the entire time, and that's how I even got the 5 years of sobriety.
Okay, but why were you
everything.
lying to me as recently as a month ago about the cancer stuff?
Because I was still trying to manipulate the situation, and I've realized that's not gonna help, and that's when I've admitted it finally and tried to seek help, and I've gotten baby steps on the way to get that help. And I've even blocked even talking to my mother because she's very abusive in what she says to me, and every time at night when she's drinking, she sends me those messages, and that's why I said even in counseling, I'm trying to get to the root of that, of why I even needed to fill that void again with something else. As I can tell you, in prison, it's not what's gonna help me, because in there, none
I-
of them wanna
listen,
get
I don't-
better.
I don't pretend that prison's gonna
No,
help
I
you.
understand that, and I'm just saying, I'm trying to take steps, and I wanna be able to make amends to those people, because that's what I know to do today. And that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to become the best woman that I can.
Okay, but manipulating the people closest to you is not the way to accomplish that.
I understand, Your Honor.
You understand, but you have to do more than understand. You have to take action.
And that's what I'm doing, Your Honor.
That's what you're telling me you're doing as you sit here today, all right? But you weren't doing that a month ago when you were here.
Correct, Your Honor. And that's all I can tell you is what I am doing today to right that situation. Because the past is already the past. I can't go back and change that. I can only change what's gonna happen tomorrow if it comes.
I don't expect you to change the past, okay? Because how many counts of the prescription stuff was there way back when?
The 2016 case?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have to look at numbers. The information was 10 counts of forgery and 10 counts of...
It was like 30 or 40 things, right?
It was 20, Your Honor.
20?
I'm sorry, there were 20 counts she pled to, but that was through an information offer, so there
Right.
were many,
So there
many
was
more
there was a
than
lot of that going on, okay?
There were 2 different doctors that she was working for, taking their prescription pads and writing out prescriptions.
So that was a major breach of trust.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And you were on probation as a result of that, right?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, I did NeoCap, and then I was on probation, Your Honor.
Right. And then eventually, I sentenced you to prison, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then put you on probation again.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was my expectation that was an experience you wouldn't want to duplicate,
Yes, Your Honor.
and that you would do what you need to do in order not to duplicate it. And one of the items that you were told to do was to address your mental health. So while you tell me that you did it for 5 years or whatever time period it was, you didn't follow through.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Cutts?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm going to focus a little bit initially on the 2024 case. This is a case where their jurisdictions, they were charged in one information. They did happen on the same day, but they, like I stated, they include the Lake County Sheriff's Office jurisdiction as well as Mentor Police Department jurisdiction. On this day in August 21st of 2024, defendant went into 2 different vehicles, one of them being Ms. Archer's vehicle. Ms. Archer suffered a psychological and economic harm. I can tell you from speaking with her as well as her interactions with law enforcement. She had police checking her home because her keys were taken. She was very concerned about what the defendant would do to her and her family. She indicated that, I'm not saying this is accurate, that she believed that the defendant had reached out to her on Facebook Marketplace. She was very concerned about the safety of her family and what was going on. She had 2 purses and cash in her purse taken. Her car keys were in there, things of that nature. She is out $220. I presume that's the $20 that defendant is speaking about, the cash she received. She also went to, that was outside Ms. Archer's work, outside a 17-year-old's work. I'll refer to her as AS, went into her vehicle and took her wallet out. There was a debit card in there that did not have a name on it. It was through AS's work where they put their tips and things card, but it did not have an actual name on it. That was used at a store. So though Ms. Facemeyer is indicating that she received $20, she used
6316.
exactly off of that card. So though she may not have had that cash in her hand, she used it to buy scratch-off tickets. She was in the store for an extended period of time. She would win a little, come back and forth. So she took that money as well. So between the wallet and the items that were not recovered, AS is out $723.16. This is a high schooler who her ID was later found and the credit card with her name on it, but the wallet and other items, keychain, cards, things like that, were not recovered. For Ms. Archer, her credit cards were recovered in the dumpster. She had already canceled all of them, but the purses were not recovered. It was claimed that they were put in another dumpster and they were not located there. These individuals and their families were very concerned about their safety because of the amount of information that is received when you take somebody's purse or wallet. So that goes to that aspect. The recidivism concerns cover all three cases. As has been alluded to, in 2016, defendant has convictions for 10 counts of illegal processing of drug documents and 10 counts of forgery. She was put on probation, given an opportunity. She had 3 probation violations before she was sent to prison. And these were not some of the more minor violations that we sometimes see. The first one was she was negatively discharged from aftercare. She tested positive for buprenorphine, and she brought someone else's urine in for testing. Her second violation is she had a new case at the Mentor Municipal Court. It was a felony 5 drug possession. However, they allowed it to be reduced to a misdemeanor and a petty theft. That's when she was illegally obtaining Xanax. Her third violation was she did not show for a review hearing. She failed to report to probation on September 20th of 2019. She failed to bring her medical paperwork in that had been requested. And Eastlake Police Department had new charges on her. She tested positive for fentanyl and opiates on December 4th of 2019, and there were new charges out of Madison Township Police Department as well, which are the 2019 and 2020 cases before us. She then had in 2019, obviously the misdemeanor possession of drugs that was reduced and the misdemeanor theft. 2020, she was convicted of an F3 burglary and F5 identity fraud. That was the new Eastlake charges and the new Madison Township charges. She was also convicted in 2020 of trespass and a habitation felony of the 4th degree. She was given prison in those cases. She was then granted judicial release on January 28th of 2021. In 2016, when she had those initial cases, she was given dual diagnosis, including NeoCap and various opportunities of treatment. When she was given judicial release, she was ordered to halfway house, mental health evaluations, various opportunities for treatment if and when she needed it. So she did go to prison from September 15th of 2020 to January 28th of 2021. So for this 2024 case, she is on judicial release, obviously probation on those 2 cases. In the burglary and identity fraud case, which is the 2019 case, she was given 36 months in prison, and in the 2020 case, she was given 18 months in prison to be served consecutively. Obviously, she has pled to the probation violations in those cases for failing to report to the police new contacts in her new felony case. Now, those violations actually only cover the Lake County Sheriff's Office new charge. She also did not tell the police about, did not tell probation about the Mentor Police Department case. And she was aware of it because the detective called and spoke with her to set up a meeting, Detective from Mentor Steyerwalt. She set up a meeting, then called, I don't know if she called back or he called back to cancel because she was ill, and sent him a medical note saying she was ill. And then when he called to reschedule after she was supposed to be fine, her attorney called and indicated she wasn't coming in, which is fine, but she did know that there was a Mentor Police Department aspect as well, and did not tell probation about that. She has not responded favorably to previous sanctions. She's had probation violations, new cases, given opportunities on judicial release. The information while she's been on probation that she's given often could not be verified. We also know why now. A lot of the information she was providing was not accurate, so it could not be verified.
Providing to her probation officer.
Correct. Yes, she provided false information to a police officer. I did not see all of the records that were provided. However, they can't be accurate based on what we know, so I do not know if they were forged or how they were obtained. When she was asked to provide medical records, she often did not. The records didn't match. The medical records numbers didn't always match. She couldn't seem to remember who she went to see, which everybody was concerned, at least probation, that the claims were not accurate. She's gotten prescriptions from multiple doctors and online sources. Some of the medical records from my charts that were received show she was given Narcan. It is my understanding that Narcan would be given to somebody who's actively using opiates in this to ensure that they don't overdose.
Where did she get the Narcan from?
That is unclear. The medical records we got from my charts will go through and give what prescription she's on. It appears that those are what she is self-reporting. There were multiple times in those medical records where it said that you need to talk with your doctors. Some of these medications are overlapping. Some of them she was obtaining from online telehealth ones. So gabapentin was one of them. At one point was Narcan, the Suboxone is on there. But since we know many of these were not prescribed by UH and were from online, often when you have a telehealth or when you see a doctor, they ask you what medications are you currently on. I don't know how accurate some of those listings are or not.
Don't these people have a database to see what drugs are prescribed by other doctors?
I don't know all of the access the telehealth people get because they don't have persistent contact with individuals. They do generally ask and get information from the patient, and
That
if the
works out
patient
well.
is not accurate, then they're not going to. In some of the medical records that we received from UH, when she was going into procedures, there were things said about using drugs, and she put down never. Even if she's not an active user, it shouldn't be never. It should be that she had in the past had issues. So it is concerning what information is provided in the records that were provided by defense and through my charts. In addition,
Go ahead. I'm waiting to respond.
so there's been a pattern of deceit and deception that has gone through, even past what is here. We know there was a GoFundMe page. My understanding was $7,800, and then there was a fundraiser a couple months later. Don't know how much additional was found in that. The psych evaluation that was done for this case she was found to be deceptive. There's a lot of information going through as a poor historian and not a reliable historian because she was not being truthful with the people who were there to attempt to help her. In the mental health aspect, she would miss appointments. She would say she wasn't taking medications, then she was. She has been giving a lot of opportunities through this court going back to 2016 to help her with issues that were brought forward. She has not been honest about those issues. She wants to say that she has been supported the last year, but yet in that last year, she has committed these two offenses in August. On December 18th, approximately 3 weeks ago, she was still indicating that she had cancer and was not forthcoming. It is very possible that she is trying to work forward on things. However, she can also do that after a prison term. She has been given a great opportunity on judicial release. I have no doubt that it was opposed by the state. If the state and probation objected, the court wanted to give her an opportunity, and she has had that opportunity. At this point, it is the state's belief that she is not amenable to community control. She has not been forthcoming. To my knowledge, and Ms. Newman can say if I'm incorrect, she didn't tell her that she didn't have cancer and come forward in the last couple of weeks between the hearings. I don't believe either of us knew it until we were sitting in chambers with Your Honor that she had admitted that, though we had our suspicions that that was not the case. So we do not feel she's amenable. Prison is consistent. We would ask that she be sentenced to prison in the 2024 case where she has 1 day credit, and that she be ordered to pay restitution to Molly Archer of $220 and to AS for $723.16. We would ask that you reimpose the prison terms from 19 CR 1297, which was 36 months consecutive, to 20 CR 65, which was 18 months consecutive. That would mean in the 2019 case, you would have 181 days of jail time credit. In the 2020 case, you would have 6 days of jail time credit. The prison credit would be calculated by the prison. We feel they should all be consecutive, and they would, so that they could punish and protect, as well as they would not be disproportionate. She was obviously on probation, which was granted through judicial release, and that her history shows a need for consecutive sentences. And that would be the state's request at this time.
Mr. Cherry.
Your Honor, gabapentin is prescribed by my client's primary care provider at UH, not as been indicated by the prosecution. My client her understanding is that the Narcan is a backdrop for any potential problem that would happen with Suboxone. That's not something that was given to her because of a relapse. Again, I'm going to underscore for the court that there has not been a positive drug screening for heroin. And the final thing I'll say is that deception is natural to an addict. This might be a profound case of that, but it just goes to show that she has work still to accomplish. And I believe that
But by that theory, there's no failure on probation, right?
No,
Or no failure that should trigger a more severe response than probation, right?
I believe that probation is the best place for her to get the help that she needs. She needs somebody looking over her shoulder, Your Honor.
Okay.
Certainly.
I don't exist forever. My life is finite. My term is finite, okay? At some point, all anybody can provide for her is the opportunity to take advantage of what's out there. It's not up to you to implement that. It's up to her to implement that. If she doesn't want to implement it, then she's not going to implement it, regardless of what anybody says.
No, I think she does. I think that the relapse behavior, because I would consider this kind of a relapse, even if it isn't a relapse on heroin, is a part of recovery for a lot of people. And they have to fall back on their face again in order to say, okay, wait a minute, I have to go back and take the lessons that I've learned, maybe learn some new ones, and continue to work. And I think that's where Ms. Facefire is.
That may very well be where she is. That may very well be where the 50 people I have on probation right now test positive and relapse, okay? But the way you describe it, and I know you only represent Ms. Facemire, you don't represent all criminal defendants everywhere, but by the way you describe it, the only sanction, to use the nice terms of the legislature, is to continue on probation to provide another opportunity, right?
Yeah, I think that is way better to address addiction than jail time. I don't think jail time works.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. You know, sometimes it works. When I've sent people to prison before and then shocked them out, and then they've come through with flying colors. The reason is because they took advantage of what was out there and made the determination they were going to do that, okay? Because I can't listen to somebody tell me who sits in that chair that relapse is just another bump on the road to recovery, because sometimes it isn't.
That's true.
Sometimes the relapse puts them 6 feet under,
Mhm.
okay? And there's no recovery.
That's true.
So the reliance on that, and I'm not making light of it, okay, but the reliance on that prospect doesn't really sit well, because if the person is not taking advantage and not putting the effort in, then it doesn't mean anything.
I think she has put effort in, Your Honor. I think if she had not, she might be 6 feet under. She might have tested positive for heroin with Miss Newman. Certainly one of those things would have happened. She just hasn't done everything yet. And she has a big hole to dig out of because of her history.
Right. The history is the history, right? I mean, she's the one that said that what she's done in the past she can't do anything about, meaning her criminal activity, okay? That's history, right? And her history is her history. So how does she get to the point where she can live with that history and move forward in a productive way? Isn't that the key?
I would agree with that, and I would add that it's not just her criminal history. I think criminal history
That's
is
what I'm
in
talking
part
about.
based on her family history.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay? She's got to understand it, figure out how to deal with it with the appropriate tools, and move forward productively,
I agree.
okay? But that takes effort,
It does.
okay? A lot of effort on her part went into manipulating Mr. Cameron, among others, that she had cancer, okay? A lot of effort went into that to make sure that was covered up until the last few days, right?
It is hard to describe, and I don't know anything about Your Honor or anybody else in this courtroom, I'm going to assume a person who has not personally struggled with any of this. It's hard to describe to a person how an addiction hijacks your logic circuits, for lack of a better term, and focuses them on continuing to hide so that you can continue to live that life until you finally figure out how to come forward and be true to yourself.
Right. Part of figuring it out is putting the effort in to figure it out.
Yes.
And as you well know, some people do it. Some people do it quicker than others.
Yeah.
But they do it. They don't do it because they went to an AA meeting and stared at a wall and it worked by osmosis, right? They put some effort into it and actually implemented in their lives what they heard, what they saw, what they learned. And it translated to them, and they continue to do it every day. Because if they didn't continue to do it every day, then they'd be sitting there, right?
Might I suggest, though, that
Go ahead.
when I was there in the rooms, and I watched many people come in with meeting slips, as I'm sure you are well familiar, having them signed by the secretary. And they would sit in the back,
Right.
and they wouldn't pay attention, and they wouldn't participate. And they were gone, right? After 6 months or whatever period of time that they would do their thing, and you wouldn't see them again. There was a nice chunk of them. I'm not even going to say 20, 30%. They would come back after a period of time, sometimes on meeting slips and sometimes on their own. Because even though they're getting it by osmosis, as you said, they're getting something, a little seed planted. So then they recognize they have another problem, they come back. That is also part of the road to recovery. For some people, it is harder than for others.
I acknowledge that. I've seen that.
Yeah, I
I've
bet.
seen it over and over, okay? I've seen people succeed that I never thought
Right.
would. I've seen people that just didn't want to and ended up on the other side of things,
Yeah.
okay? But it takes that effort. But the question becomes, okay, so as a society, how long are we supposed to sit back and allow crimes to recur while we wait for this person to do what this person needs to do to not commit recurring crimes? Isn't that kind of the question for the system?
Can I ask a related question? Do you believe that were Crystal Facemeyer to go to prison for 6 months or a year or however long you decide, that she would come out and not still have the same problems that she does sitting here today?
No.
Maybe even worse.
Of course not.
So are we protecting society?
I
Maybe
don't know.
delaying it.
I suppose we're protecting society for a period of time, right?
Potentially. But we're
Well,
not really
no, I
solving
mean,
the
there's
problem.
no, it's not potential, it's 100% for certain, okay? Because if I sent her to prison for a year, then she wouldn't be out stealing crap out of people's cars for a year, right?
But
I
if she
mean-
comes out and she's got the same problem, then we might be back here. But our only chance to make that go away forever is to address the problem.
Right. I can't address the problem.
I understand.
I don't address problems, okay? People not you, but people mistakenly believe that I have actually some control over what criminal defendants do, and I have zero control. My only control is to house them if I choose to house them, right? That's all the control I have.
Or provide them services.
Well, we do that every day. I mean, we do that every day, all day. Probation, that's their job for 40 hours a week, is to facilitate services. Unfortunately, the system is set up in such a way that some of these service providers are frauds, but, I mean, that's kind of human nature sometimes. A certain number of people are going to be thieves throughout their lives and take advantage of every situation, okay? And this is no different. Anything else?
Nothing else, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. I have reviewed the pre-sentence report, the psychological evaluation, and I have considered the what the pastor has said, what Mr. Cameron has said. I considered what Ms. Facemeyer has said, what counsel has said, reviewed the victim impact statements. And I have considered the entirety of 29-29-11, 29-29-12, and 29-29-13. And as you said, Mr. Cherry, and we're here on the F5 theft and the F5 identity fraud. This the initial term of community control on the 19 and 20 cases was by every definition that I could find a failure multiple times, which is why I sent her to prison. Now, I sent her to prison for a total of 54 months. You weren't here for that, I don't believe. But I sent her there knowing that I was going to let her out and put her on probation with the hope that the shock of spending several months in prison would provide some sort of jolt such that when she came out, that she would do what she needs to do to prevent coming back here again. But that didn't work either. Now, see, Ms. Facemeyer, you can tell me anything you want to tell me, and you've put me in a position where I can't believe anything you've told me.
I understand that, Your Honor.
That's just a fact, right? Because I'd be a fool
No, I know, but can
if
I
I believed
honestly-
what you said.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Please? When you did send me to prison, though, that was the best thing you ever did. Because if you would have let me out, then I would have done heroin and died. And by sending me to Jean Marie and being able to take that opportunity that you gave me, I've been able to get 5 solid years without using heroin or touching it. And I am sincerely sorry about lying and this gambling problem and everything else. And that's why I'm trying to take the steps to do the right thing and do what Alcoholics Anonymous has taught me right now and admit the problem and address it and try to make amends the best way that I can. And by a prison term, I can't make amends to those people. It's already hard enough with my record to even find a job that actually pays me enough to make those amends. And right now at this moment, with the treatment that I have sought on my own before even coming here, and the job that I have, I'm able to fully meet my expenses and pay those people back. And actually work on myself at the same time for those family things that have happened in the past, to actually leave them in the past and not let them affect me as bad as they do today.
Well, all of that is correct. But that's what you need to do. On the 24 case, I'm gonna again place you on community control. For 5 more years. I'm going to schedule another hearing that will take place April 16th at 1 o'clock. At which time I'm going to implement a sentence of 180 days in jail. April 16th, 1 o'clock. If you do not make significant progress on your sanctions. So, how long have you been working at this place?
I just started there on the 13th of January, because I had put out applications.
December.
Not December, I'm sorry. Since the 13th of December, because when I had gotten picked up for the probation violation, I had lost my current job, and then they were the first place that I had actually gotten hired into after putting applications out.
Who's the psychiatrist that you're going to right now?
His name is David McNair. He's out through Twinsburg.
Who's the counselor you're going to now?
His name is John Luttrell. I see him, like I said, virtually through the phone, because he's in Dayton.
All right, why don't you find another counselor that you can actually talk to?
Can I say something though? Because I do really honestly like him and have actually made some progress. Because I do get along very well with him, and we have talked about stuff that I don't share normally with people.
Does he know about the,
He does know about this case and my gambling
does he know about the
addiction.
cancer stuff?
Yes, he knows about that
What's
too,
his
Your
name?
Honor. John Luttrell. That's why I said I've actually told him and opened up. Because to me, it's a lot easier. Because I know there's HIPAA and all that, but to me, it's a lot easier just to dump my stuff on a stranger that I know is so far away, and whether he repeats it or not, it's not going to come back around here.
Who's your AA sponsor?
Her name is Tara Crookston. She's on the west side. I've had her since Jean Marie.
And besides your primary care physician and your psychiatrist, who else do you go to?
Currently, it's going to be Dr. Ahuja. He's the OBGYN that did the surgery in November.
Okay, who else?
It's
Anybody
him
else?
And then Scott Allen, the Suboxone doctor, but that's just to wean off of. I won't be seeing him after I'm completely off of it.
Well, why don't you, what does your psychiatrist know about this Suboxone stuff?
He knows that I had gotten on it and everything, and then I told him about the tapering. I had to reschedule. I had an in-person appointment that I had with him on the 2nd, but I didn't receive my Medicaid cards until after that. So he's been on vacation. I have to reschedule to see him because I have to see him in person once a year also.
How often do you talk to the pastor?
I see him every Sunday and we text, and if I do need him, I'll call him also, and then we plan on starting to even meet in person as well and talk about things too. He was even over our house for Friendsgiving.
During which period you were still
Correct, Your Honor.
perpetrating the scam, right?
Correct, Your Honor, but I even did come clean to him as well. That's why we planned on even starting the meetings.
All right, so you better satisfy me with your progress in the next 3 months, or you'll go sit over here from April until October.
Understood, Your Honor.
You're going to continue with McNair, follow the recommendations, continue with Luttrell and follow the recommendations, no drugs or alcohol, screens.
Oh, Your Honor, real quick, too, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Dr. Monterelli's my primary, who I do
Right.
get the gabapentin monthly through, so I don't know if you want to list him as well on there.
I believe it's in the records, Your Honor.
I know.
Okay.
What's the gabapentin for?
That's been for my tremors. My mom has them too. It's genetic. It's why I shake so bad too.
He's your primary?
Correct, Your Honor.
I'm not including your primary or a Ahuja. Okay,
Okay.
I'm just, you can go to those people. 4 AAs a week. Maintain your sponsor. Sign releases for probation. Full employment. No contact with Archer or Snow. Restitution to Archer, $200. Restitution to Snow, $723.16. Pay the cost and supervision fees. All the terms are the same in 20 and 19 cases, with the exception of where they involve Ms. Archer and Ms. Snow in the restitution. Ms. Newman, any other terms?
Just to review, Your Honor, so 5 years on the new case, no drugs or alcohol screens, 4 meetings. Do you want anything in there about mental health? Is it just going to continue mental health?
Mental health is with the psychiatrist and the counselor.
So other counselor, psychiatrist?
So to follow those recommendations as you go. Anything else? Other than that,
No, no.
you understand the terms?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is like our 6th go-around.
No, Your Honor.
Because if you don't follow them, there's still 54 months on the other cases, 24 months on this case in prison. Anything else from you, Ms. Cutts?
Yes, Your Honor. On the 2024 case, is it accurate to say the community control is concurrent on each count?
Yes.
And do you want it worded as 180 days in jail to report on April 16th at 1 PM, and then if you...
Well, we'll have the hearing here at 1 PM. And then if she hasn't, so if she hasn't done what I believe she's supposed to have done, then she'll go to jail at that time.
I
So 2
understand.
2 o'clock on the 16th.
So,
To report 2 o'clock on the 16th.
and then if you vacated,
Right.
the lapse change?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I don't think you've advised on post-release control, but I think other than that.
I think I only have to do that if I sent her to prison. But
Depends
I'll do
which-
it But I'll do it anyway, okay?
Sure.
So if you go to prison, then when you get out, is the burglary a 18-month to 3, or is that still a 2 discretionary?
At the time of the judicial release, it was mandatory 3 years.
Okay, so 3 years, post-release control, with conditions from the parole authority, and if you don't follow those conditions, 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of the sentence. If the violation's a new felony, then you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for the violation. The maximum would be 12 months or the time left under post-release control, whichever is more.
Your Honor, at this point, the way the wording for post-release control on the burglary F3 would be mandatory 3 years, maximum minimum of 1 year.
So it was 1 to 3 then?
It is now. At the
So that-
time.
So she gets the
laws
benefit
changed.
of what it is now?
I don't know, but they can give her the 3 years. I would have to,
Okay, so it's got to be at least 1 year, maybe 3 years. How's that? That work?
We can always brief the issue if it comes to the floor, let's
No.
hope not.
No. All right, anything else, Mr. Cherry?
Nothing else, Your Honor. Thank you.
I don't think I've ever left a sentencing being more unnerved or uncertain about imposing a sentence before. So take that for what it's worth.
Thank you, Your Honor.